Okay, step one, let's go ahead and prepare the printer. We'll unload the current filament, we'll unhook the PTFE tube, and we'll remove the spool holder because we're not going to be using that once we get done here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and heat the printer up. Right now it's at 0 degrees. So we'll go ahead and hit prepare, preheat the hot end. Now this is using the latest version of Marlin firmware. Yours can be any version, we don't really care, but I highly recommend, if you do not have the latest version of firmware on your machine, get it. There is a safety concern with the thermal runaway protection not being enabled on the default machines, but go ahead and, it's a pretty simple process, especially if you're opening up the machine. What you're going to have to do for installing the, adjusting the motor currents. While you're in there, might as well, you can go ahead and buy an Arduino clone, just a little $3.99 Arduino clone, and use that to actually reprogram this. You'll need to follow the instructions on the web. I don't have them with me, but I will link to them in our video so you can see that. But you'll go ahead and update the firmware. Again, it's not necessary for the proper functioning of the Chameleon. It is necessary for the proper safety of your house, though. Okay, so this is now heating up. It's at 139. Once this gets to 170, it's warm enough for you to actually unload. Right now it's at 165, so that should be close enough. What I'm going to do now is just simply pull the filament out. There we go. We have a couple of screws here. We're going to use the larger 3mm wrench to remove that. Then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the PTFE tube from the hot end. So now remember, this is still hot. We want to keep it hot so that this doesn't stick. So we're just going to push down on the black connector here, and we're going to pull the PTFE tube right out. That's a good connection there too. Got to make sure you get the black down all the way so that it releases all of its teeth. There we go. Now what I like to do is go ahead and leave the PTFE tube as attached to the line here. And the reason why we do that is so that we actually get a good stiff base. Let me go ahead and just shove that down a little bit farther into there. So we get a good stiff base for the wire to continue to stay on. You don't have to do that. We're going to actually have a separate PTFE tube coming in from the top of our system, but having this installed here is not going to hurt anything. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and shut the printer off. We're going to unplug it. And with it unplugged, now we're going to go ahead and unplug the motor to the extruder because we're going to reutilize this in our switch. So let's go ahead and unplug that now. There you go. And there's your switch, or your extruder motor cable. We're going to reposition that into our switch, but we'll do that in the next steps.